So the welterweight championship, in my opinion, it wasn't just that it was an upset. And like, you think about big title fight upsets. And like, I know that a lot of people, like I said, thought Usman was going to win. But it was the way that he won. It wasn't like a knockout or like, it was just complete and utter dominance. And a lot of people are saying that like, oh, well, it looked like Woodley didn't really try, or Woodley wasn't doing this, or he didn't look like himself. You know why he didn't look like himself? Because Usman put him up against the fence and beat the fuck out of him. He dominated him. And Woodley is no doubt extremely talented, but I said this before the fight, and I've said that people fight Woodley wrong before. The way to fight Woodley is to eliminate his space. He's an explosive motherfucker. He knocks people out, and he covers a lot of distance on shots in his takedowns. You know what I mean? He does really well in open space, and a lot of guys, just by the nature of their fighting style and the stature of their bodies, like Wonderboy and Till, are long. So they might press him up against the cage, which Woodley lets happen to himself. And it's still kind of advantageous for Woodley because he can explode off of the cage and land these, devastating punches. Because, just like I said, just by the nature of their fighting style and how they're built, Woodley and Till just hang back a little bit further. They got longer reach. It's just their style. But it creates space that Woodley can capitalize in, and he covers space very quickly. But when you're fighting Usman, it's like a consistent, grindy, cutting off space type of pressure. And I thought that Woodley was going to be able to do more to get back to his feet, but Usman completely just manhandled him. I thought it was one of the most impressive title performances against one of, you don't see that very often. Like even with Gustafsson, when he went in against John Jones, who's revered as one of the greatest fighters of all time, right? And he goes in and he's an underdog, and he goes in but it was a war. This was just a one-sided fucking beatdown. And, like I said, against a guy who you don't think that's going to happen to. I know Woodley's had some losses and been put in some situations, but never like that. And it makes you wonder, was something wrong with Woodley going into it? Personally, I felt like he was trying. I just felt like every single door that Woodley tried to open, Usman just slammed in his fucking face. Mentality-wise, the way he was marching him down, the way that when the round started, he immediately asserted himself in the middle of the octagon and he walked to Woodley, and Woodley didn't look like he wanted to be there. And in the very first round, I looked at my girlfriend after Usman took him down, and you could just see in Woodley's face that he didn't like the pressure. I think when he felt that, it was kind of like, how when guys fight Khabib, they feel it and they're like, holy fuck, that's completely different than what I was prepared for. Everything that I've seen and everything that I've watched and everything that I thought I knew about grappling doesn't compare to the pressure that this guy's able to put on me. And I think that's what you saw in Woodley. You're talking about a guy who wrestles frequently with Ben Askren. What does that say about Usman? And I understand that Olympic wrestling is different than MMA wrestling, but I can't overstate how impressed I am with Kamaru Usman. He is going to be a motherfucker to worry about. He doesn't take a lot of damage either. He's kind of like a modern day GSP in a way. A little more aggressive, I would say, even throws a little bit more a little more tenacity, and it's a little more dirty and ugly, but he's fucking impressive, man. I'm excited to watch him going forward. And the fight against Colby Covington is the one that makes sense for him. Colby Covington's another grinder who, he just doesn't get fucking tired. You saw him outwork Rafael dos Anjos for 5 rounds, right? Or 3, either way. He just really put it on. It was 5 rounds because it was for the interim title because Colby always carries that fucking belt around with his MAGA hat on. But that's a great fight, and they both don't like each other. Covington feels like he's been cheated out of the title before, and now's his opportunity to step in and try to take it if he wants to against a guy who, like I said, in my opinion, one of the most impressive performances in UFC, in the changing of titles in UFC history. Maybe TJ Dillashaw Barao might have been more impressive just because of the way that Barao had been dominating for so long, 9 years, and TJ went in and lit him the fuck up and broke him down. So, but it ranks up there in my opinion. This was 5 rounds of dominance. There was, at no point in the fight did you feel like Woodley ever really even had a fucking chance. And he's extremely good. extremely good. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm like I keep raving about it, but I can't get over how impressed I am with Kamaru Usman.